Think bigger, act bolder, get richer. The formula no one taught you. There comes a moment in every human life when the walls of limitation begin to close in, when the ceiling of what society has taught us presses down so heavily that the soul itself begins to suffocate. That moment, whether it arrives in a cramped apartment staring at unpaid bills or in a corner office surrounded by hollow success, is the moment destiny whispers, "You were not meant for smallness. Think bigger, act bolder, get richer, not richer merely in coins or paper, but richer in spirit, richer in vision, richer in the great abundance that floods to the one who dares to master the formula no one ever truly teaches." Look around you. Cities rise, industries boom, wealth flows into the hands of those who once sat in the same despair you now know. Andrew Carnegie, a boy in a factory working for pennies, lifted himself into the stratosphere of fortune by refusing to think in terms of scarcity. Thomas Edison, a man considered unteachable by his school teachers, birthed an empire of light because his imagination refused to bow to the judgments of mediocrity. Henry Ford, mocked for his vision of a car for the common man, defied ridicule and built an empire so vast that the very landscape of civilization bent to his dream. These men did not stumble upon riches by accident. They obeyed an invisible formula, one hidden not in textbooks, not in institutions, but in the secret chambers of the mind. They dared to think bigger than their surroundings, to act bolder than their fears, and as a consequence, the world was forced to make them richer. The truth is stark and uncompromising. Poverty is not the absence of money. It is the absence of vision. Wealth is not the presence of gold. It is the presence of belief. What you hold in your pocket matters infinitely less than what you hold in your mind. And the difference between those who live chained to survival and those who ascend to abundance is this: one group surrenders to the environment, the other commands it. You are either the sculptor or the clay. The choice is yours. Do not imagine for a moment that greatness is reserved for the select few born with privilege. Rockefeller, at the dawn of his empire, was not draped in riches. He was clothed in hunger. Walt Disney, bankrupt and betrayed, sat in despair before a mouse named Mickey carried him into immortality. Helen Keller, deaf and blind, stripped of every ordinary advantage, still found her way into history's eternal memory by daring to live bolder than the circumstances written against her. What is their common thread? It is not luck. It is not chance. It is not the alignment of stars. It is the alignment of mind. For the universe is impartial. It cares nothing for your excuses. It bends not to your complaints. It bows only to the command of vision, crystallized into belief, belief crystallized into action, action repeated until the very laws of reality yield. Here, then, lies the formula no one ever taught you. What you dare to think, multiplied by the courage to act, compounded by persistence, explodes into wealth. But most men and women live as beggars at the banquet of life, clutching their fears as if they were treasures, defending their limitations as if they were sacred. They whisper to themselves that wealth is for others, that success belongs only to the chosen, and in so doing they choose their own chains. You cannot climb toward abundance while dragging the corpse of small thinking. You cannot ascend to greatness while shackled by timid action. You cannot expect riches to flow to you while your spirit radiates poverty. Think bigger, act bolder, get richer. Bigger thinking begins with the audacity to reject the evidence of your current circumstances. Einstein himself declared that imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is bound by what is, while imagination points to what can be. To think bigger is to stand in the ruins of your present life and see the palace that has not yet been built. It is to look at your debts and see investments waiting to be multiplied. It is to gaze upon your failures and see only stepping stones. Bold action follows like a shadow. For thought without action is but a dream, and action without boldness is wasted motion. Ford did not merely dream of cars. He marched into the impossible and dismantled it. Edison did not simply imagine light. He scorched his way through thousands of failures until the world itself glowed. Churchill, when an empire quivered under the boots of tyranny, did not shrink. He thundered, "We shall never surrender." Boldness does not wait for permission. Boldness does not seek approval. Boldness acts while others hesitate, and it is this motion, this relentless, fearless movement, that unlocks doors the timid will never even see. And when bold action is multiplied, when it is repeated with the persistence of waves beating against the cliff, then wealth, true wealth, begins to pour. Not instantly, not without resistance, but inevitably. For the formula is law, and law does not fail. Yet here lies the warning. Those who attempt to cheat the formula, those who attempt to seize wealth without vision, without boldness, without persistence, find themselves hollow. History is filled with men who rose quickly but fell just as swiftly, for they built empires of sand instead of stone. Riches gained without purpose are chains in disguise. Riches born of bold thinking, purposeful action, and unshakable persistence are the foundation of legacies. Look again at Carnegie, who built not merely steel, but men of steel, funding libraries and institutions that outlived him. Look again at Rockefeller, who turned oil into an empire, but later poured wealth into healing and science. Look again at Walt Disney, whose fortune was not in dollars, but in imagination made eternal. They thought bigger than their peers, acted bolder than their enemies, and became richer than their critics could fathom. Not merely in money, but in influence, in legacy, in immortality. And now the formula turns to you. The stage is empty, the curtain waiting to rise, the world hungering for new visionaries. Will you shrink back into the shadows of doubt, or will you take your place among the immortals? The first step is not to ask, what do I have? But what can I imagine? The second is not to wait for certainty, but to move while others hesitate. The third is not to act once, but to persist until resistance itself bows in surrender. This is not a game. This is not philosophy written only for the page. This is the rhythm of creation, the very heartbeat of success, the law that governs the rise of every empire. It does not care if you doubt it. It does not wait for your approval. It simply waits for your obedience. Think bigger, act bolder, get richer. The formula no one taught you is now before you, and your only task is to apply it until the very fabric of reality bends to your will. Clarity is the lens through which bigger thinking becomes focused power. A man who thinks vaguely, who dreams in hazy outlines, builds castles that crumble like smoke. But the one who thinks with precision, who sharpens his vision until it cuts through every fog of doubt, summons forces that obey him like soldiers before a general. Andrew Carnegie once said that the men who have succeeded are those who chose a single purpose and pushed toward it with all their might. He did not scatter his energy in 1,000 directions. He funneled it into steel until even the earth itself seemed to harden under his will. I observed this truth in Think and Grow Rich. Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. Without it, effort is wasted and dreams dissolve. Clarity is not a luxury, it is the oxygen of bold action. To move without, it is to wander. But to move with it is to advance like an army under divine command. What is it you want? Not in timid terms, not in borrowed desires, but in the blazing language of your own soul. What is the picture that sets your heart on fire? The vision that makes sleep impossible, the goal so clear it burns itself into your imagination like light on film. Until you answer this with raw honesty, you cannot act boldly. For boldness without direction is chaos. Once clarity is established, belief becomes the engine that drives it. Belief is the invisible currency of the universe. Men trade in dollars and contracts, but the greatest fortunes are transacted in faith. Henry Ford declared, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." In that simple phrase lies the essence of wealth and poverty. For belief does not merely color your perception. It commands your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is the true architect of your destiny. Maxwell Maltz, in his revolutionary work, Psycho-Cybernetics, revealed that the human mind is a goal-striving mechanism. It cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined picture and physical reality. Whatever you impress upon it, it seeks to bring forth. This is why the rich grow richer and the poor sink deeper into poverty. Not because the universe favors one and abandons the other, but because each impresses upon their subconscious the blueprint of their fate. The wealthy man thinks in terms of expansion, multiplication, creation, and his subconscious bends reality to fulfill those expectations. The impoverished man thinks in terms of lack, fear, limitation, and his subconscious faithfully manifests the scarcity he worships. Your subconscious does not care whether the seeds you plant are flowers or weeds. It only grows what you water. Consider Edison once more. When thousands of failed experiments stood between him and the light bulb, his conscious mind might have faltered, but his subconscious was imprinted with one unwavering image: light. He believed so deeply that he trained every fiber of his being to search relentlessly for the solution. That belief, that unshakable impression, called forth the resources, the ideas, and the persistence required until the world itself was illuminated. Belief is not weak hope. It is iron conviction. It is the voice that says, "Though 10,000 obstacles rise, I shall not turn back." It is the force that transforms visions into reality, that transmutes bold actions into empires. Without it, the formula collapses. With it, the impossible bows. But how does one build belief when surrounded by failure, debt, and disappointment? The answer lies in repetition. What you repeat daily becomes your truth. What you declare to yourself with persistence becomes etched upon the subconscious as law. Joseph Murphy, in The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, revealed that affirmations spoken with faith can rewire the very structure of your destiny. If, day after day, you declare, "I am a magnet for wealth. I am a vessel of abundance. I am bold. I am unstoppable." The subconscious eventually accepts these as reality and works tirelessly to bring them into form. Repetition is the chisel with which you sculpt belief. And here lies the bridge. Clarity provides the picture, belief provides the power, and the subconscious mind becomes the workshop in which your destiny is constructed. But clarity and belief alone are not enough. They demand expression through bold action. Action is the proof of belief. Action is the ritual by which thought becomes matter. Walt Disney did not simply believe in Mickey Mouse. He built him into an empire, brick by brick, drawing after drawing, risk after risk. He mortgaged his life for his vision, and in so doing, belief hardened into reality. Bold action is not reckless. It is precise. It is deliberate. It is driven by clarity and fueled by faith. It is waking before dawn to labor for a vision the world cannot yet see. It is investing time, energy, and resources when others call you mad. It is speaking your dream aloud when others mock you into silence. Do not misunderstand. Bold action does not guarantee immediate success. No formula eliminates the seasons of struggle. But bold action guarantees progress, and progress guarantees eventual triumph. The timid wait for the right conditions, the bold create them. The timid seek certainty, the bold forge it. Alexander Graham Bell was ridiculed when he spoke of transmitting voices through wires. Yet he acted boldly, built prototypes, endured failure after failure, until the telephone transformed communication forever. Nikola Tesla, though misunderstood and often betrayed, dared to act on visions so vast they seemed like fantasy. His laboratories became temples of boldness, where the impossible was tested daily. The formula is eternal. Clarity of vision, belief rooted in the subconscious, bold action multiplied through persistence. Each feeds the other in a cycle of creation. Vision without belief dies of fantasy. Belief without action rots into delusion. Action without clarity wastes itself in chaos. But when the three converge, empires are born. Now understand this, the formula is neutral. It will work for wealth or it will work for ruin. If you're clear in your fear, if you believe in your failure, if you act daily in ways that sabotage your potential, you will become richly impoverished. Your life will be abundant in misery, overflowing with mediocrity. But if you're clear in your purpose, if you believe in your destiny, if you act boldly in harmony with that vision, you will become richly prosperous. Your life will overflow not only with money, but with meaning, influence, and power. The law cannot be broken. You can only break yourself against it. So the choice stands before you as it stood before every titan of history. Will you allow your thoughts to remain small, your actions timid, your life shackled? Or will you seize the formula, bend it into your service, and rise to the ranks of those who shaped civilization? It begins not tomorrow, not next year, but in this moment, with the thoughts you repeat daily, the beliefs you cultivate relentlessly, the actions you take boldly. For the future does not wait. It is being built right now in the silent corridors of your mind. Discipline is the bridge between bold desire and manifested wealth. Without it, the brightest vision fades into nothingness. Discipline is the unseen spine of greatness, the quiet strength that compels you to move when comfort whispers for you to stop. It is the force that binds your thoughts, beliefs, and actions into harmony long enough for results to bloom. The undisciplined dreamer is like a man planting seeds but watering them only when convenient. His garden grows wild with weeds. His harvest rots before it matures. But the disciplined visionary, who tends to his purpose daily, rain or shine, builds a fortune so certain that no drought of circumstances can kill it. Andrew Carnegie rose not simply because he imagined steel, but because he organized his life with unyielding discipline. He read voraciously, studied ceaselessly, worked tirelessly. When his competitors rested, he refined. When others surrendered to fatigue, he pushed forward. Discipline turned his hunger into empire. Consider Thomas Edison once more. Discipline chained him to his laboratory for days at a time. Eyes red, hands blistered, but will unbroken. Thousands of failed experiments would have destroyed the undisciplined mind. But Edison's discipline made him relentless, until the night came when light itself bowed to his persistence. Discipline is love of your vision greater than love of your comfort. It is loyalty to your destiny greater than loyalty to your excuses. And it is discipline, not talent, that separates the conqueror from the conquered. Yet discipline alone is not enough. For no matter how disciplined, you will be tested. Life will strike you with setbacks, betrayal, loss, and failure. Wealth is never granted cheaply. It demands proof of your resilience. Resilience is the soul's refusal to die. It is the warrior rising again when the battlefield is littered with defeat. It is Abraham Lincoln, who lost election after election, failed in business, endured tragedy after tragedy, yet rose to become the savior of a divided nation. It is Winston Churchill, mocked, ignored, and cast aside, who returned in Britain's darkest hour to thunder words that lit the fires of courage across a trembling empire. Resilience is Walt Disney, bankrupt, ridiculed, betrayed by those he trusted, yet walking into another bank, another meeting, another attempt until Mickey Mouse danced his way into immortality. Understand this truth. Struggle is not your enemy. Struggle is the furnace in which the steel of your destiny is forged. Without the fire, you remain soft, brittle, and unready. But with the fire, your spirit hardens, your vision sharpens, your will becomes indestructible. Every fortune carries scars. Every empire is built upon ashes. The men and women we now revere were once broken, but they refused to remain so. Out of their wounds grew wisdom, and out of their wisdom grew wealth. If you run from struggle, you run from strength. If you curse your hardship, you curse your future. But if you embrace struggle as the training ground of greatness, you will find yourself equipped with weapons the timid will never know. Consider the story of Charles M. Schwab, the steel magnate who began as a humble stake driver. His path was not paved with privilege. It was marked by sweat, setbacks, and ceaseless labor, but he endured. He rose from a square ice because he did not flee from difficulty. He fed on it. He let it mold him into the kind of leader Carnegie himself trusted to run his empire. Resilience transforms pain into power. It takes every rejection and bends it into fuel. It takes every delay and stretches patience until it becomes a weapon. It takes every defeat and buries within it the seed of a comeback greater than the fall. Discipline and resilience are twin guardians of the formula. Discipline keeps you steady when the world offers distraction. Resilience lifts you when the world delivers devastation. Together, they form the shield that protects your vision until it is ready to manifest. But do not be deceived. Discipline is not punishment, and resilience is not suffering for its own sake. Both are instruments of wealth creation. Both exist to refine you into a vessel worthy of abundance. The man who resents discipline will forever chase fleeting pleasures, never tasting true success. The man who resists resilience will forever collapse under pressure, never building anything that lasts. And yet, when these forces are embraced, something miraculous occurs. Gratitude. Gratitude is the alchemy that transforms discipline from drudgery into devotion and resilience from burden into blessing. Gratitude allows you to see the beauty in your struggle, the wisdom in your wounds, the purpose in your pain. It is gratitude that makes the wealthy truly rich, for without it, even vast fortunes turn to emptiness. Earl Nightingale, in his timeless teachings, reminded us that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Gratitude is what makes that progress joyful, not bitter. It keeps the heart light, the spirit humble, and the mind receptive to greater abundance. Gratitude for discipline allows you to endure routines others abandon. Gratitude for resilience allows you to embrace hardships others curse. Gratitude keeps you aligned with the frequency of abundance, for it is impossible to complain and prosper at the same time. And so, the formula sharpens once more. Clarity of vision, belief rooted in the subconscious, bold action, multiplied by discipline, tempered by resilience, crowned by gratitude. Look at your life now. Every challenge you face is not an obstacle. It is an invitation. Every delay is not denial. It is preparation. Every setback is not a grave. It is the soil in which your future triumph grows. You are not a victim of fate. You are a craftsman of destiny. The hammer in your hand is discipline. The anvil beneath you is resilience. The spark within you is gratitude. Strike hard, strike often, and watch as the raw metal of your life is beaten into gold. Think bigger, act bolder, get richer. The formula demands discipline. The formula demands resilience. The formula demands gratitude. And the moment you give these willingly, the universe itself opens its vaults. Adaptability is the hidden art of the wealthy. The rigid man breaks when storms strike, but the adaptable bends, shifts, and rises stronger than before. Life is not a straight path. It is a river of constant change. The fortune builders are those who learn to navigate its currents, adjusting sails when the winds shift, finding opportunity in disruption while others cling to the wreckage of the past. Charles Darwin declared that survival belongs not to the strongest nor the most intelligent, but to the most adaptable. The same law governs wealth. Those who insist on doing things as they have always been done perish in irrelevance. Those who adapt, who see beyond the horizon, inherit the treasures of tomorrow. Consider Rockefeller. He did not cling to a single method. He adapted his strategies, reorganized his empire, anticipated shifts in the market, and as others collapsed, his wealth expanded. Consider Walt Disney. When animation alone was no longer enough, he adapted into theme parks, into television, into storytelling so vast that it redefined imagination itself. Adaptability is not betrayal of vision. It is the preservation of vision by adjusting the method. The oak that bends in the storm survives to tower another century. The oak that refuses to bend snaps into ruin. But adaptability alone is not sufficient. It must be rooted in what Wallace D. Wattles called the certain way, a consciousness of wealth, a vibration of abundance that attracts prosperity like a magnet. Wealth consciousness is not greed. It is alignment with the frequency of prosperity. It is thinking in terms of growth when others think in terms of loss. It is asking, how can this expand me? Instead of, why did this happen to me? It is living in expectation of abundance rather than in fear of poverty. James Allen declared, as a man thinketh, so is he. To cultivate wealth consciousness is to train every thought, every word, every emotion to radiate abundance. Poverty. Consciousness dwells in lack, repeats the mantra of not enough, and worships limitation until it becomes reality. Wealth consciousness dwells in possibility, repeats the mantra of more than enough, and worships expansion until it materializes. The wealthy are not simply those with riches. They are those who vibrate wealth, who think wealth, who live wealth long before the fortune arrives. Their very presence radiates confidence, creativity, and abundance. They carry themselves as kings long before they wear crowns. Nikola Tesla once said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Wealth consciousness is exactly that. It is tuning your inner frequency to prosperity until every action, every opportunity, every connection vibrates in harmony with abundance. But beware, wealth consciousness is not wishful thinking. It demands action aligned with vision. It demands discipline anchored in resilience. It demands adaptability when the winds change. Wealth consciousness without action is fantasy. Action without wealth consciousness is struggle. But when the two merge, money flows as naturally as rivers to the sea. And here lies the climax of the formula, the final truth no one taught you. Wealth is not something you chase. It is something you become. Think bigger, and your mind expands into realms where possibilities live. Act bolder, and your movement commands the universe to respond. Get richer, not merely in coins, but in wisdom, in strength, in purpose, because you have become the kind of person wealth cannot resist. This is the secret the greats carried. Carnegie became wealth before he held wealth. Ford thought like an industrial emperor before he built his first factory. Edison believed himself a bringer of light before the first bulb glowed. Disney lived as the architect of dreams long before Disneyland's gates opened. They did not chase wealth, they attracted it because they became it. And so the formula no one taught you is not a secret outside yourself. It is a power within. The universe has no choice but to give riches to the man or woman who embodies them in thought, in word, in belief, in discipline, in resilience, in gratitude, in adaptability. The call now thunders to you. Who will you become? Will you remain as you are, thinking small, acting timid, living shackled to scarcity? Or will you rise, think bigger than your surroundings, act bolder than your fears, and get richer than your ancestors ever imagined? Your future does not begin tomorrow. It is being written in the thoughts you repeat today. Every thought is a command to the subconscious, every word a decree to your destiny, every action a seed in the soil of eternity. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for certainty. Do not wait for the perfect conditions that never arrive. The formula is alive now, waiting for you to wield it. Dare to see clearly. Dare to believe ferociously. Dare to act boldly. Dare to persist with discipline. Dare to rise with resilience. Dare to adapt without fear. Dare to radiate gratitude until the universe itself vibrates with your song. For when you do, you will find yourself no longer chasing riches. Riches will be chasing you. You will no longer beg at the banquet of life. You will feast as a creator, a visionary, a master. Think bigger. Act bolder. Get richer. The formula no one taught you is now in your hands. The question is no longer, can you? The question is, will you? For the world is waiting, not for another timid soul to whisper excuses, but for you to rise, to command, to lead. And when you do, history itself will bend to remember your name. You must keep in mind the following. Repetition is the sculptor of your destiny. You will not become what you visualize once. You will become what you visualize consistently, daily, obsessively, until your brain starts adjusting your behaviors, your standards, your environment to match that inner self-image. That's not magic. That's biology. So listen this lesson again and again and again until it gets installed in your brain and in your subconscious mind, until you realize the results you seek.
This is timeless and powerful wisdom that has influenced and improved the life of millions. Now you must install it deep into your subconscious mind to experience real-life changes. Find in our channel's description the resources that will aid you in achieving the optimum results you seek.